Hi everybody, Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRFBets race of the day for Saturday, May the 11th. Race number 4 at Belmont Park. It is the local prep for the Belmont Stakes. The Grade 3 Peter Pan is a one-turn, 9-furlong event for 3-year-olds. Let's take a look at the field. Only a field of 5. A little bit disappointing, Mike. Access your free Formulator Pass performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order. Todd Pletcher has the 1 and the 2, but Intrepid Heart 7-5 on David Aragona's morning line looks like the horse to beat. Todd's taken his time with this horse. Won his 2-turn and career debut at Oaklawn Park, and after that race, a lot of trainers would get maybe a little bit of the Derby fever. Not Todd. He said after that race, we're going to run him through his condition, and then we're going to try to point for the Belmont.
Yeah, so far so good for this horse. Listen, I have no argument with this horse as the favorite. I think he's run really well in both of his starts. I liked his debut, if only because not only was it a 2-turn debut going long, I mean, they went a solid pace in there. He had pressure up there the entire way. He raced it off. He went clear on the stretch. I liked that debut a lot, and I liked his win at Keeneland even better. If only because they didn't go to the front that time, and in that short stretch at Keeneland at a mile and 16th, I really liked the way he finished in that race. He showed a little bit of a new dimension. It makes him the fastest horse on the way in. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know, Dan. He just makes a lot of sense from a lot of different angles.
And he's bred to run longer and longer. While this will be his first race around 1 turn, he's getting the 1 1/8. He's a half-brother to Commissioner, who finished second in both the Peter Pan and the Belmont a few years ago. And he's just such a big, strong-looking horse. And the way he wore down that loose, late pace setter last time out of Keeneland in the short stretch, as you mentioned, makes me think that more distance is better. And he's got a little tactical speed.
Yeah, I like that about him. You know, even though it looks like he will go longer, he's
not a plotter.
He's not a plotter. I mean, he's got speed. He can be forward in this race. I don't think they're going to put him on the front in here, but I think Johnny's going to come out of there looking for position. I think he's going to be up close to the pace.
Uncoupled stablemate, despite same owner, trainer, is right next door, the 2 Federal Case. Now, I think a lot of folks are going to look at Federal Case and they're going to look at it this way. He's in this race to make it go. Right. A. B, he's in this race to provide a little bit of pace help for Intrepid Heart, just in case Global Campaign or someone else decides to go out there and slow down the pace. Or C, Todd actually thinks he has a shot to win. You have a very bearish standpoint on Federal Case. I like him a little bit more than you do.
I mean, I'm just not thrilled necessarily with any one of his races so far. The 88 buyer that he earned in his second career start, I guess that puts him somewhere in the mix.
It's an outlier.
It is. He hasn't backed that race up well at all, I don't think, in his last 3 starts. And, you know, even when I watched that race, he was 2-5. He had the lead. The horse that rounded up second to him actually got about, I don't know, maybe a full length in front of him in the stretch before this horse found a way to battle back and prevail. I understand that they put an acre of ground on the rest of that field, but I mean, I wasn't blown away by his win. He has not run that well in his last 3 starts. I just wonder how good he is, Dan.
I didn't mind that race going a mile at Gulfstream. To me, I thought a mile was too short. It looked like they got away from him, as you said, on the turn. He was able to persevere as he should have at 2-5. Yeah. He was bet down to 9-2 in the Holy Bull, and I really think the plan that day, breaking from post 2, was to be close to the pace. And this horse doesn't get out of the gate a lot of times very well. He didn't break well. He ended up trying to chase 4 wide on the turn, and he packed it in. And after that race, it just seemed like Todd and the Connections gave up on him. They turned him back into a sprint in the Hutchison, and that Gladiator King, listen, he's an underrated sprinter, and he got loose that day. And then they ran him 2 turns at Charlestown. It's almost like Todd doesn't like this horse, but he's running him here in the Peter Pan. I don't know. I think he's going to be forwardly placed in here. I think he'll outrun his odds. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, considering who's drawn to his inside and then who's drawn right to his outside, do you want to be forward in this race? Because they're the 2 horses to beat in here, and it feels like they could both be up on the pace.
Let's talk about the number 3 Global Campaign. He's a half-brother to Bolt D'Oro by Curlin, sold for $250,000. And after his first 2 starts at Gulfstream, he won those 2 races as easy as pie. Buyers came back a little bit light, but the sky seemed the limit. He was bet down to 7-1 in the Fountain of Youth, and just nothing went right. He grabbed a quarter, I'm assuming pretty much coming out of the gate. Then he chased a very fast pace in a good field. He's been freshened up here. They wanted to run him in the Pat Day Mile last week. He didn't draw in,
right.
But here he is, and Timeform US believes he could get loose.
Yeah, we'll see how the pace all plays out because, listen, maybe he will just go right to the front in here and try and wear the field. I don't know if they have to ride him that way. It's interesting because in his second career start, when they stretched him out around 2 turns, it looked like they wanted to lead in that race, but he had a rival in that race who was really intent on it, so they backed off and let him have it. I liked the way that he won that race. You know, it's funny because after the Fountain of Youth, that pace was so fast, he did a lot of chasing in there, and I just sort of felt like after that race was over, everybody, like, Hidden Scroll was all the rage after the race because he went the fast pace. I'm not so sure that this horse didn't run every bit as well as Hidden Scroll did. I mean, he wound up being beaten maybe a length or so by that horse after chasing the entire way. You know, of course, Hidden Scroll hasn't exactly flattered him since that race, so who knows what it all means. I think this horse is okay, though. You know, 1 mile and 1/8, I guess that could be fine for him. And he certainly has the pedigree to go at least this far. He's an interesting horse.
Hidden Scroll didn't flatter him, but Code of Honor and Vacona did. Sure. Code of Honor, of course, third in the Florida Derby with a 91 in his next start. Vacoma winning the Bluegrass with a 94. We talked about Intrepid Heart as a horse that's really big-bodied, strong pedigree, not a plotter. Sir Winston's a plotter.
Yeah, he is.
He's the number 4. He's got a very strong distance-oriented pedigree. You could argue that down the road, a 1 mile and 1/8 might actually be too short for this horse, but he just doesn't have a lot of early speed. And in a race like this, a short field with no pace, Sir Winston's up against it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got a lot working against him because not only does he have to most likely just run the best race of his life if he's going to beat this field, he's going to have to do it maybe in a disadvantaged pace scenario because he will be last early. I mean, you know, his Tampa Bay Derby, when you go back and watch it, I mean, he was just never, was he running at the end of the race? Yeah, he was, but I would hope he would be running at the end of the race. They went a fast pace in front of him, and he was nowhere at the top of the stretch. I don't know, he didn't do anything in the Bluegrass. His Withers, which was not a good field, I didn't think he ran that well in that race either. I mean, this horse is okay, but there's just so much working against him in here.
Completing the field is Final Jeopardy, who won 2 out of his first 3 starts, and then they tried the Wood Memorial, and he was 8-1 against Tacitus in the Wood that day, and he was one of several horses that were impeded, leaving the gate in the opening furlong. He was kind of checked in between horses, had to take up. After that, I thought he followed Tacitus down the backstretch, and he just really didn't pick it up. He hopped back to his left lead late. I didn't think it was a great performance, but he did have an excuse for being checked going into the first turn. I still have a question about 1 mile and 1/8, even though he has a little bit of a distance pedigree.
Yeah, he's got a pretty nice pedigree on the bottom. So, you know, maybe he'll get this far, but I'm with you. I don't know that I really feel like he wants to go this far. We'll find out maybe more about him in here because I liked his first 2 career starts. Even though he didn't win the second one, I thought he kind of ran deceptively well in that race. When they stretched him out for the first time, he won easy and he got a figure for the race, but I mean, you couldn't have got a softer trip than the one he got in that race. So I personally felt like he had a lot to prove going into the Wood, and he was badly hampered at the start of that race. But as you say, he did 0 running after that, and they went a wicked pace in front of him. I don't know. I can't like him that much in this race, but I'm interested to see what he does.
Would you be aggressive coming out of the gate, try to make the lead in this short field? I mean, I know Timeform US doesn't have him up close, but he has shown positional speed in the past.
Yeah, he has. You know what? It wouldn't be a bad plan to me because the horses that they have right up close to the pace, it's not like Global Campaign's a huge, you know, big speed horse. I don't think they're going to be sending him. If they send, they might be actual to make the lead in this race.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Peter Pan Stakes. Mike's going with Intrepid Heart. This horse is Wade the horse to beat and is a horse to keep an eye on, win or lose on Saturday, because in all likelihood he's going to the Belmont, and he's a horse that's bred to appreciate that distance. I'm using him in any kind of multiple race wagers. I do want to give Federal Case a little bit of a shot. He's going to be maybe the longest shot on the board. His Holy Bull, I thought he had an excuse. I don't understand why they've been sprinting him in his last 2 races. I think he wants ground, and I think Global Campaign's going to let him go to the front, and I think he's actually going to be able to control the pace early. Whether he's good enough to take him all the way, that's a different story. The price will be right. I'm going 2-1-3. You're going 1-3-5 in the Grade 3 Peter Pan. It is your DRFBets Saturday race of the day. It has an approximate post time of 3:08 Eastern. Best of luck.